Hello, everybody. It's me, Ross, and welcome to another edition of the League One Lowdown, where I speak to fans, podcasters, and journalists from each League One club to get their thoughts for the coming season. Today, I'm joined by Harry, who you may have seen before. I've chatted to him all things Wigan before. He's a journalist and he's a lifelong Wigan fan. Harry, thanks very much for joining me. Last time we spoke, we thought Wigan was never going to be a club again, but new ownership. You stayed up. Liam Richardson is staying. The Paul Cook, Liam Richardson derby will be an interesting watch in December. But how you doing? And introduce yourself.
I'm great. I'm Harry. I'm a journalist, not a sports journalist. I'm a Wigan fan, and then a separate journalist. But lifelong Wigan fan, and I've alongside a lot of people, and all Wigan fans essentially have been really in the thick of it for the past year. 13, 14 months. Considering, when last time I spoke to you, Paul Cook had just left, which was crippling for all Wigan fans because we were convinced Paul Cook was going to be Wigan's manager, similar to a Sean Dyche, spend a decade at the club kind of thing. He was so passionate about the club. We were so passionate about him. He just seemed to love it there. And then, what happened. And when I was speaking to you before we started recording, when I spoke to you, when Paul Cook left, I was convinced the week after we weren't going to have the club. Maybe 2 weeks after the club might disband. I spoke to loads of fans who were very convinced that the club was not going to last the season. If we had buyers that ended up being dodgy Spanish blokes that didn't end up buying us or got turned down or whatever. We were. And if we got relegated, odds are that, we would have started League Two. We wouldn't have got a buy and would have started League Two on minus 15 points or something. So the fact that, I'm on a show about League One talking about Wigan is a miracle in itself, really. But yeah, no, I think a lot of Wigan fans are very excited and optimistic about the season ahead, especially because we managed to turn around such a drastic situation last season and stay in the league.
Of course, you guys finished 20th last year. Liam Richardson is now your permanent manager, and the new owners are not mucking about with the transfer business. Looking through the list of signings, some big standout ones. Of course, you've signed Gwion Edwards. We've signed Lee Evans. So there's a bit of a swap deal there, but not really. But they've just signed as free agents. But like Charlie White, top goal scorer for Sunderland last year. Max Power rejoining you guys. I won't name them all because I'll let you name a few as well. You're the ones that stand out for you as well. So talk about your signings. Are you happy?
Very happy. I think it's weird because we had a transfer ban when all of last season and when we were in administration. So the players we were signing, we had players on week contracts. Literally, end of the week, you can play for us for this game. It was really like the amount of players that we had to play for a team in that year. The only ones that were regulars up until we got bought and people started to see that we were getting bought. They were all, they were all doing their A levels at the same time. So the fact it's really nice to sit down as a fan, especially as you really start to appreciate football when you're this close to losing it, to get excited about the players being brought in. Max Power. From I'm not sure how many fans would say this, but from my personal view, is probably my favourite Wigan Athletic player ever, just because of how, and Sunderland fans didn't half slag him off when he left, but he's so unbelievably passionate. Not sure if that was just a Wigan thing or or if he's just passionate about every club he's at, but Tranmere fans will stand testament to that. He really throws himself into everything at the club. And seeing him in a Wigan shirt is really fantastic. But because of the lack of players, we've had to bring in so many. So we're still expecting more and more signings. But the business that we've done so far has been outstanding because we've only actually paid for one player. But all of the players that we've got, odds are going to be in our first team come the first game of the season. I think it's fantastic business, and I've been lucky enough to be able to speak to Talal, who's our chairman, and speak to people around the club. And these people know what they're doing. These people are have a vision for the club and are making that vision come true, and they have high but realistic expectations. They're not, like certain Hong Kong businessmen buying a club on a whim, and if it doesn't work out, we'll just bin this club and run it into the ground. It's an very exciting time to be a Wigan fan. Despite 12 months ago, it was the worst possible time to be any sort of football fan. So yeah.
Okay, and of course, as I mentioned, it'll be the Leo Richardson, Paul Cook derby in December. Out the signings, which one is the standout for you? We're chatting off air about Stephen Humphreys and other things like that. When we play each other, I'm sure it'll be a very big talking point is the managers, but the players on the pitch. Lee Evans will be returning to Wigan, Gwen Edwards, and all that. But what is the standout sign? You said Max Power, but anybody else?
I think that from what I've seen from pre-season and stuff like that, but also from what I saw last season when playing for Rochdale, is Stephen Humphreys. I think that is a really astute piece of business, and is in fact the only signing we've had to pay money for. Charlie White was a big one. Charlie White was a shock, really. The rumor popped up like 10 a.m. in the morning, and by 12 p.m. we'd signed him or something mad. Which I think kind of has put to bed any talk of Will Grigg making a return, because we've already got Charlie White on allegedly 10 grand a week. But I think Charlie White will do bits, especially if Sunderland were quick to say that it was all because of McGeady's balls in, and you can fight back on cynicism as much as possible, but a lot of it was the fact that he had great balls coming into the box, and he was able to nod it home or prod it home from close range. I think he scored more goals than anyone in the league last season from in the 6-yard box, which just kind of shows his position and stuff like that. But we've just re-signed Derikwe, who was playing for us last season. We've just re-signed him this season because obviously we were on like minimal contracts. Balls, people who can whip balls in like that for him would be great. Gwion Edwards seems to be doing well in pre-season, despite what some Ipswich fans did say when he joined us. I think that's a really astute piece of business. Away from that as well, Jack Watmo I think is a fantastic signing for centre back, and our defence did so well last season, being who they were. But we've had players that we had on short contracts that haven't re-signed, like Curtis Tilt, and then we had a lot of youth players filling in centre back and stuff like that last season. To have an astute centre back like Jack Watmo, who's been at Portsmouth for a while, despite only being like 24 years old or something, 25 years old, for him to slot into centre back, I think is a must. Same with Ben Amos. We have Jamie Jones, who is our club captain, or certainly was last season. I think an absolute fantastic person who's stayed with the club, and I think on his day he gets a lot of unfair criticism. But at the same time, I feel like Ben Amos is probably a step up from that, especially as Jamie Jones is maybe getting a bit older. I think we're shoring up places that we were struggling to patch up last season with temporary players coming in and youth players being brought up. So I think the signings that we've made so far, Jordan Cousins is another one who is really impressed. I really think the business side of it, I think we've done really well. And then on Ipswich's side, I feel like Lee Evans will do bits for you guys. He's also signed Scott Fraser as well. There was a point where Wigan was almost the only team he was linked to, and it was almost a dead cert he was coming to Wigan, and Paul Cook has swooped in. I think Scott Fraser is going to be a standout player for Ipswich. But I think in terms of the business that we've put together and the signings that we've amassed and accumulated, there are some players there that 12 months ago you would never have seen them play for Wigan, and a lot of them should be playing, according to their fans, of the previous clubs that they were at should be playing championship level. I mean, Jordan Cousins was let go, imagining he was going to a championship club, like a higher up championship club than Stoke. People thought Charlie Wyke was going to go to a championship club. Jack Watmoe was going to go to a championship club, and all of them have come to Wigan because they believe that something is happening at Wigan. It's an exciting time with new owners and a new direction, and every single player in their opening interview has basically gone, I spoke to the manager and the assistant manager and the directors, and I'm excited, and that's why I want to join this club. So yeah, I think some of the business we've done is great. As a fan, it's unbelievably exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting times at Wigan, and of course, it's exciting times at Town as well with the new ownership, and that is what normally happens. You know, you hope the new owners will give you that excitement back and the ambition. And I've been impressed by the Wigan signings. Let's talk about predictions. I know it's still very early days, still a month left to go. As you said, there could be more signings in the door, but you know, last year you were just hoping you're going to be a club still. You're going to hope you're going to be able to stay in League One. You know, you stayed in League One. Now you've got a fresh canvas to now work on. Would you say Wigan are got to be up there from promotion? Is that the aim?
See, I personally believe we, quote unquote, should be up by the playoffs, considering that the players we've brought in. And I imagine that the board and the directors will want us to be up there. The aim is to get us back into the Championship and stabilise the club. I feel that the club is already being stabilised massively with how it's run, because it's being run so well at the moment. The thing is, after when you see your club be this close to not existing, you become a lot more grateful for what's gone on. I mean, we might get halfway through the season and Wigan fans might be like, bloody rubbish Wigan. But you start to get very grateful for what you have as a football club and what it provides to the community, and turning up on 3 o'clock on a Saturday to watch some football. And, you know, if we don't make the playoffs, me personally, I'm just going to be happy that the club still exists. I think if you look at it on paper and take out all sentimentality out of it, really, we probably should be up there. I mean, you know, we're in a lucky position now where, as a club, we have we're not swimming in, you know, we're not throwing money at players, because all the players we've got are free, but we are a quote unquote big enough club to attract players to see where we're going and to pay wages like Charlie Wyke's wages, which is, you know, unheard of really in the Championship, in League One, sorry. So yeah, I think the hope is that we'll be up there, and on paper we probably should be up there. I personally think Ipswich are going to be up there, and I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you. I think that Paul, I mean, I love Liam Richardson to bits, and what he did last season was a miracle worker. Paul Cook does have more experience than Liam Richardson, being at the helm of a club. And I personally think that Paul Cook is the best manager in League One, and that he shouldn't be in League One. The fact, when I spoke to you a couple of months back, I was almost shocked that he'd gone to Ipswich. Not in any insulting way to Ipswich, but I mean, there were so many jobs in the Championship that should have given him a look in, and didn't, despite him, on his terms, getting Wigan. We finished 13th last season before finances came into play. So he got a club like Wigan, who was struggling beforehand, to mid-table. You know, he can easily take a club like Ipswich, who are making astute signings, back up to the Championship, or at least have them in contention, I believe. Yeah, that's my. I think both clubs will be up there. But personally, as a Wigan fan, if we aren't way up there or aren't massively contending, I will still be happy that I've got a club to call my club. You know, a year after we went into administration, we're bust. Yeah.
And to finish off the video, already mentioned it. You know, the derby is now it is now a derby. It's the longest travelling derby, but Wigan Ipswich Town, that is going to be the big talking point. You know, Cook and Richardson. We play here in December. We travel to the DW Stadium, and then you of course travel to Portman Road on Easter Monday. So that is very much at the end of the season. That could be a massive game for both sides to get promoted or even win the league title. Hopefully not down below. Hopefully both teams are not trying to fight to survive. That would just be disastrous for both sides. But what can you expect from those games? I know they're going to be ages away, but you know, what sort of football does Liam Richardson play? Is he very similar to Paul Cook, or does he change up a little bit?
I'd say he's very similar to Paul Cook. I think again, it's almost hard to pin down Liam Richardson because the last season, you know, he was doing what he could with the team that he had, but this is now his team, so he might play a bit differently. But Liam Richardson wasn't really an assistant manager. He was almost like a co-manager at times. He was always just as vocal as Paul Cook when both of them were on the touchline. I know how amicable those games are going to be because Wigan fans love Paul Cook, and I know Paul Cook loves Liam Richardson. I mean, when Paul Cook signed was appointed manager of Ipswich, in his interview, he was mentioned about Liam Richardson. They're like, see where Wigan are at the end, and then we'll talk to him. So what that indicates to me is that they've had a talk, and Liam Richardson's very eager to stay at the club because he's happy with where the club's going. But he knew full well he had that get out clause because Ipswich still don't have a set number two. Liam Richardson would have been well ahead of Gary Roberts or Francis Jeff as the number two because he's been Paul Cook's number two for ages. But hopefully, with both teams going to be close, and especially that game on Easter Monday, it should be a real, it'll be a weird kind of chess match of a game with both managers almost coming from the same school of thought, in the fact that you could maybe argue that Liam Richardson as a manager has probably learned a lot from Paul Cook's managerial style, being assistant manager under him for so many years at so many different clubs. Paul Cook plays an attractive style of football that many Wigan fans love to watch especially when he was in full swing and we were tearing up teams in League One when he first arrived. I hope Liam Richardson will try and do the same kind of football and have the same kind of aspiration. So it could end up being we get to Easter Monday, both teams are up there or fighting for a playoff spot or something, and you're going to see a real battle of wits of two managers that manage very similar. And I mean, as a football purist, it'll be quite a spectacle to watch and quite something to watch. Hopefully, it might just be that we have Charlie Wyke up front and we just play hoofball and hope that we nod one and then sit back. But I'm hoping for attractive football to watch for Wigan, and you're guaranteed to see attractive football for Ipswich, in my opinion, especially with some of the signings that you're getting to the club. So it could end up being two similar brands of football clashing heads and seeing, I don't know, with whoever wants it more, really.
That's a great way to end the video, my friend. That's some great words as ever. Harry, it's been a pleasure. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Not at all. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Have me back whenever you like. There's very few people I can rant at about Wigan who don't immediately get bored and tell me to shut up and talk about something else. So have me on whenever you want.
So, well, I hope everybody's enjoyed. Wigan fans, Town fans, let us know in the comments down below, and stay tuned for further League One lowdowns. I've got many other clubs to talk to, but there we go. It's going to be an exciting season for Town and Wigan in League One. Bye-bye for now.